Every empire, betrayal, invention, and romance was born from one force, desire. It is the invisible current running through every human action, disguised as love, ambition, or purpose. Desire builds nations and destroys them, binds lovers and breaks them apart. We are taught to worship it, to follow our hearts, to chase our dreams, yet no one warns us that desire is not a servant, but a master. It manipulates quietly, whispering that fulfillment lies just one step further, one victory away. The more we obey, the tighter its hold becomes. In this journey, we will uncover 7 dark truths about desire, truths that reveal how it shapes your choices, your fears, and even your identity. Because desire is not the light that guides you forward. It is the fire that consumes, unless you learn how to control its flame. Desire is rarely honest. It wears the mask of goals and possessions, money, fame, love, power. But beneath that mask hides something deeper, the desperate need to become someone. People don't crave the object itself. They crave what it means. Money is not paper, it's proof of worth. Love is not affection, it's validation that we matter. Fame is not attention, it's the illusion of immortality. French psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan called this the desire of the other, the idea that what we want is shaped by what others value. We chase symbols that promise belonging, respect, and superiority. Even rebellion is a performance for an audience we secretly hope is watching. Every "I want this" translates to "I want to be seen as the kind of person who has this." But the tragedy of desire is that identity built on approval is never whole. The moment we get what we sought, it loses meaning, because the external world can't fill an internal void. The applause fades, the luxury dulls, the love feels uncertain, and so we set our sights on something new, believing this next achievement will finally make us complete. It never does, because desire doesn't chase possession, it chases recognition. It's not hunger for things, but hunger for self-definition. The more we try to prove who we are through what we gain, the further we drift from authenticity. That's the cruel paradox. Every fulfilled desire deepens the emptiness it was meant to cure. Desire doesn't ask, "What do you want?" It whispers, "Who do you wish you could be?" And until you answer that truthfully, you'll spend your life mistaking mirrors for meaning. Desire does not survive abundance. It suffocates in it. The moment something is fully ours, the magic begins to fade. Possession kills the thrill that distance creates. It is not the kiss that intoxicates us, but the tension before it. It is not ownership that excites us, but the chase, the silent ache of wanting what hovers just out of reach. From forbidden love to luxury marketing, the psychology is the same. Scarcity gives meaning. A forbidden lover becomes irresistible not because they're perfect, but because they're unreachable. A luxury brand isn't valuable because of its material, but because it tells us, not everyone can have this. Scarcity creates illusion, a mirage that makes the object glow brighter the farther away it is. This is the psychological mirage effect. We confuse anticipation with fulfillment. Our brains release dopamine not when we receive the reward, but when we expect it. That's why dreams often feel more satisfying than reality. The journey promises endless possibility. Reality delivers limits. Once the goal is achieved, desire must reinvent itself or die. The cruel paradox is that fulfillment extinguishes longing. What we finally hold becomes ordinary, stripped of mystery. The lover once worshipped becomes human. The success once craved becomes routine. The heart, restless and unsatisfied, begins to wander again. Desire thrives not in ownership, but in absence, in the gap between what we want and what we can't yet reach. That distance is the fuel that keeps us moving, striving, imagining. Fulfillment ends the story. Distance keeps it alive. And so we remain caught in the beautiful torment of wanting, forever mistaking the horizon for home. No desire is born in isolation. We learn what to want by watching others want it. René Girard called this mimetic desire, the hidden current that drives imitation beneath the illusion of individuality. The moment we see someone crave, achieve, or adore something, we assign it value. Their longing becomes a signal. This must be worth wanting. This is how trends spread like contagions. The luxury bag, the viral dance, the influencer's lifestyle, none of it gains power from intrinsic worth, but from collective imitation. We pursue the same goals not because they align with our truth, but because they reflect social approval. In this way, desire becomes a mirror hall where everyone's reflection feeds everyone else's hunger. Social media amplifies this loop to perfection. Every like, every post, every highlight reel creates the illusion that happiness and status are attainable through replication. We scroll not to discover ourselves, but to borrow the desires of millions. Envy follows, not because others have more, but because they remind us of what we were told to want. The myth of unique ambition dissolves here. Most of what people chase is not personal, but programmed. We become actors performing borrowed dreams, competing in games we never chose to play. And the cruelest part, the applause that rewards our imitation feels genuine, even when the script isn't ours. True individuality begins only when you pause long enough to ask, do I truly want this, or have I been taught to? Every person who wants something can be controlled by it. The moment your desire is visible, you become predictable, and predictability is power handed to others. Marketers understand this perfectly. They study what makes you click, linger, and crave. Politicians promise to fulfill what you already yearn for: safety, recognition, belonging. Manipulators in relationships or business mirror your desires until you mistake exploitation for connection. Desire simplifies the human map. A person driven by approval will always seek praise. One addicted to status will always trade integrity for recognition. Once someone identifies what fuels you, they no longer need to force you. They can guide you with invisible strings. That is the genius of control. It hides behind the illusion of choice. But awareness breaks the spell. When you dissect your own cravings, when you can name what truly pulls your strings, the manipulation loses grip. You shift from pawn to player. Desire no longer drives you blindly. It becomes data for strategy. The powerful don't extinguish their wants. They observe them, trace their roots, and choose when to obey. The weak chase what they're told to want. The strong use self-knowledge as armor. Once you see your desires clearly, no one else can use them against you. Every desire carries a hidden price tag. To want something deeply is to sign an unseen contract of sacrifice. The artist gives up stability for obsession. The lover surrenders logic to jealousy. The entrepreneur trades sleep and sanity for the fragile taste of success. We romanticize ambition as noble fire, but every flame devours something in return. Desire demands energy, attention, and fragments of peace. The currency of wanting is always personal. Most people chase without counting the cost. They confuse passion for purpose and end up bleeding for goals that never stop moving. Even when they win, they discover the victory has already taken more than it gave. Every achievement leaves behind a trail of missed moments, forgotten friends, or an eroded sense of calm. To desire is to bargain with time itself. The wise understand this exchange and choose what to burn. The foolish pay without ever knowing the price. Desire is the oldest weapon in human history, sharper than any blade, quieter than any threat. The powerful have always known that to control others, you don't need to use force. You only need to discover what they crave. Once you see what someone cannot live without, you hold the strings to their behavior, their loyalty, and even their morality. Advertisers do this daily. They manufacture longing, convincing people that happiness, confidence, or love exists inside a product. Politicians promise belonging, safety, and redemption, not because they can deliver them, but because they understand people would rather believe than be free of illusion. Even in love, the cruelest manipulation comes wrapped in tenderness. One person learns to withhold affection, turning desire into obedience. The strong understand this dynamic and reverse it. They study their own desires before acting, mastering the reflex that drives most people blindly. Detachment becomes their armor. When you stop reacting to temptation, when you can want without needing, you rise above those who are ruled by impulse. Power begins where compulsion ends. This discipline does not mean killing desire. It means commanding it. The strategist feels desire fully, but chooses the moment to act. They can play the game without being consumed by it, manipulate others' wants without losing control of their own. Their strength lies in silence, in the pause before reacting, in the restraint before reaching. The weak are enslaved by what they chase. The strong turn chasing into strategy. Every empire, every successful leader, every seducer who shaped history mastered this principle, that human desire is a current. You can drown in it, or you can learn to steer it. Control begins the moment you stop being driven by what you want and start understanding why you want it. Desire is an endless tide. It recedes only to return stronger. The moment we achieve what we've wanted, satisfaction begins to decay. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, the cycle in which humans adapt to pleasure so quickly that every triumph fades into normality. What once felt extraordinary becomes expected. What was rare becomes routine. The reward loses flavor, and the chase begins again. This mechanism was once vital for survival. Evolution wired us to keep striving for food, shelter, dominance, because stagnation meant extinction. But in the modern world, that same instinct traps us in a loop of perpetual craving. We reach milestones not to rest, but to invent new hungers. The student becomes the graduate, then the worker, then the entrepreneur, never pausing long enough to ask, why do I still feel incomplete? Desire disguises this treadmill as progress. It tells us that each next achievement will bring peace, that happiness lives just beyond the next door. And yet, the more doors we open, the more corridors appear. Civilization advances through this illusion. Innovation, empire, and art are all born from humanity's inability to be content. But what propels the world also torments the soul. True liberation begins when we stop chasing permanence in things designed to fade. The goal is not to silence desire, that's impossible, but to see its pattern clearly. When you recognize that every craving will evolve into another, you stop mistaking the cycle for failure. You learn to walk it consciously, not blindly. Those who understand this truth no longer seek an end to wanting. They transform it into awareness, a quiet mastery that no achievement can corrupt. To rise above desire, you don't escape it. You simply refuse to be fooled by its endless disguise. To master desire is not to destroy it, but to harness it, to turn what enslaves others into your silent weapon. Every act of persuasion, every negotiation, every spark of influence begins with understanding what people secretly crave. The wise don't argue. They observe. They listen for the tremor in someone's voice when they speak of what they love, fear, or need. In that tremor lies control. Desire is energy, raw, restless, and blind. The powerful shape it into strategy. They use scarcity to heighten value, mystery to deepen attraction, silence to amplify authority. They understand that attention flows toward what seems uncertain, that people chase what retreats. Mastery lies not in constant pursuit, but in the art of restraint, the pause that makes others lean forward. Those who indulge every impulse are easy to read. Those who command their impulses become unreadable. In business, leadership, or seduction, the rule is the same. Never reveal what you need most. Detachment unsettles the predictable and magnifies your presence. You can't kill desire. It is the pulse of existence. But when you learn to direct it consciously, it becomes power itself. The difference between manipulation and mastery is simple. The manipulator serves their desires. The master makes desire serve them. Desire is neither angel nor demon. It is the mirror that reveals who we are. Every longing reflects a fragment of the human soul, reaching towards something it cannot fully grasp. It builds empires and destroys them, inspires art and fuels war. Without it, life would be motionless. With it, existence becomes both magnificent and dangerous. Desire is not evil. It is energy without direction, waiting for consciousness to give it purpose. To understand your desires is to understand yourself. Each craving exposes a hidden need, for love, for control, for immortality, for meaning. When ignored, these desires command you. When studied, they guide you. Power lies not in suppression, but in awareness, in looking directly into the mirror of your wants and asking, what is this trying to teach me? The great paradox of desire is that it enslaves only those who fear it. Once you face it without judgment, it transforms from chain to compass. The same fire that once consumed becomes light for creation. You can't escape desire, but you can decide who it makes you become. In that decision lies the highest form of power, not the power to conquer others, but the strength to master yourself.